Ew. Ew.
Welcome in on a very slow, just going to be honest right off the bat, Sports News Wednesday. But thank you guys for joining us. As always, hit us up in the comments. Please, for the love of God, please call. Please.
Ronnie, just so you know, your audio is a little off.
Oh, did I disconnect myself here? Let's see.
Think you may have.
A little bit better?
Oh, yeah, much better. Much better.
All right. Well, I doubt that I can do that again. I got one. My guns are broken. But thank you guys for joining us, as always. Looking forward to, let's be honest, next weekend in sports.
Pro Bowl, baby! Woo!
Yes, Pro Bowl. Madden Pro Bowl. That is what I'm looking forward to. That is the event of the season. But thank you guys, as always, for joining us. Hit us up at the link that you see below in the comments. I know we got a couple rolling in early, but Tyler, how are you doing this Wednesday?
Doing good. Just kind of trying to find any sports story that isn't sad and depressing. And then just trying to, I still don't know what all this fucking Reddit stock is about. Like we were talking before the show, I've read simplistic breakdowns 3 or 4 times, and I'm so stupid I still don't understand what all's going on. Just that Redditors are killing the stock market. So whatever, if it gets people money, do it. Whatever. But Ronnie, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Had a nice evening of golf last night. My first day of vacation, and Mission Bay. I thought it was gonna be freezing cold because that's the course down here with the lights. But actually, sun went down. Maybe only went down 2 degrees. I think the big difference is if you saw the show on Monday, no wind.
It's all up here today. We're windy up here.
Yeah, it's made its way up north to Tyler's territory over there, but no wind and that red glove. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, but I looked like I knew what I was doing.
There you go. There you go.
Probably just looked like a big old dickhead, but it was fun.
You look like a dickhead with a nice red glove, though.
That's right. Never forget. You'll remember that guy you saw with the red glove. Man, I hate that guy. God. That was me. That man was me. But thank you guys for joining us, as always. Checking in on the comments real quick. We got Nick, of course, sucking mosquitoes. From your lips to God's ears.
Always and forever.
2021 is returning to a little bit of normalcy. Duke basketball above 500. All right, shout out to the boys.
There you go.
Let's go, Dukies. And in response to your whiteboard there, I'll buy TQK stocks. How many you ask? All of them. All of them. Well, you know what? I don't know if you can swing that because it's going to cost you about $78. So if you can put up that kind of money, God bless you.
$78 for all 6,287 shares of TKQ stocks.
There's a whole breakdown.
I don't know the math. Yeah,
but our financial guys do that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of shares. It's selling at about half a cent a share at this point.
Maybe on a good day.
But let's get into the weirdness. I mean, I don't really want to get in because I don't understand it, just like Tyler doesn't understand the whole surge on stocks for companies that don't really do anything that anyone wants or needs anymore.
Yeah.
Like GameStop, Nokia, AMC, BlackBerry. Yeah. But the sports connection here is that, and I hope this is true, but I don't know. Possibly Steve Cohen has lost about $1 billion on this deal, which, if that is true, as the commenter here says at the bottom, that is that's even more peak Mets than probably anything. Maybe even more than the Bobby Bonilla contract.
I was actually about to say that's the second worst investment he's made behind the Mets.
Yeah, so as far as the market moves go, I don't know. I mean, it seems very unprecedented and speculative, but again, this is all for entertainment purposes only, so I'm not going to give you investment advice. It just made me laugh that this, of course, circles back around and affects the Mets somehow.
Oh, always.
They can't get out of it. I mean, they got Bernie Madoff got him, and now GameStop got him. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, it's like I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on. If it's the big hedge fund guys are going to be able to bounce back off this, I don't know. But it is funny, especially like all the spending the Mets are projected to be doing this offseason, next offseason, making their big plays. Now it's like, oh, now their owner just takes a massive hit like this. Like, oh god, that is absolutely peak Mets.
Enjoy the I don't know, whatever it was, like 3 months of the Mets are back. But now oh no, the Mets
now the Mets really are back. Yes.
That's true. I mean, could they have reached a Texas state of backness where good or bad, they're always back?
That's right.
Possibly.
Just a perpetual state of backness.
With this development, they might always be back. I mean, it's like, all right, we got a big investment. We're going to change the culture. We're going to do this and that. Cool, the Mets are back. Oh, big financial scandal. We suck again. Players don't want to play. Like, the Mets are also back. I mean, I guess you guys did it somehow.
If this is true, and this this whole GME thing is going to cost them a ton of money, they're going to be competing with the Indians for the lowest payroll next season.
Well, that whole GameStop thing, we had a big plan, but they really pulled the rug out on us. So,
of all things to affect professional sports, fucking GameStop. God.
Where they still won't take my trade-in of MVP Baseball 2015 and give me more than $3, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. Moving on, but staying on the topic of baseball, Hall of Fame votes came out yesterday, and no one got in. So I feel like the writing was on the wall this year. Not that no one should have got in, but just baseball writers are the ones that control the votes to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all just throwing a little, baby fit about this. And they already pretty much put it out there that no one was going to get in. I mean, I think Bonds got up to like 60-something%, 70 maybe.
So it was Schilling was 71.1, Bonds 61.8, Clemens 61.6.
And it's 75 to get in. So
yes.
And you know what I will say as far as Bonds and Clemens, I mean, you do see from time to time with I think this is like the 9th year they've both been up for it.
Correct.
Everyone wants to make their statement, but then, when it gets to like, all right, are they going to get in or not? Some people kind of soften their hard edge stance on like, all right, well, I mean, first of all, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. We both
100%.
said that on this show like 1,000 times.
Yep.
And neither of us like either of those guys.
No.
But that's not how the Hall of Fame should work. Like, if you're good, if you were one of the best people to ever do that sport, you're in. Like, I don't know why this is such a hang-up for them. But, like, Tyler always says, like, can you tell the story of baseball and just not mention Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds? No, obviously not. Like, these guys were huge factors in the entire story of the game for 20 plus years. So just by how good they were. I mean, yeah, the steroid thing, whatever, but baseball didn't test for steroids for a lot of that time.
Sure.
So what are you going to do? Like, everyone's probably doing it. Baseball writers, the ones that have the votes, are there every day. Like, someone could speak up on it. No one did. But now they're on their, throne looking down like, oh, well, this guy cheated, though. Like, what? Weren't you there for all that time?
Yeah,
yes.
you were writing articles praising it and making money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sammy Sosa ever gets in anyway. But to that, on those same lines, I mean, everyone talks about how the Sosa McGuire, like, ESPN did a freaking 30 for 30 on it. Like, it saved baseball. Like, attention was dwindling. People didn't care about it. we had the strike. Everyone was like against us after that. And all these writers that wrote, just glowing praise for it are the ones that are now like, well, they can't get in. I mean, they cheated. I'm like, okay, well, can't cut both ways. I mean, you can only really have it one way. But basically, the Baseball Hall of Fame just continues to be a turd. I don't know what else to say.
Nick, to answer your question, in the 80s, they were testing for it, and you actually got fined if you didn't test positive for it, for cocaine. So, yeah, they were testing for it back then. But yeah, it's just it's so stupid. Like I don't have an issue with writers that submitted a ballot that had nobody on it. Like that's fine. Like it's probably extremely rare, probably never going to happen where there's nobody available that should be in Hall of Fame. But if you want to vote for nobody, fine, that's your prerogative. My issue is I think they said there was 17 or so people that just didn't even return their ballot.
Submit one.
This isn't like something that millions of people get to vote for. There's like 400 writers that get to vote for this. If you can't even be asked enough to like sign your ballot and send it back without checking anything off, like you shouldn't get that vote. Like I think that's my bigger issue in this. On top of, again, you and I, we've talked about it on the show many times. We've talked about it so many times at a bar or in each other's kitchens about how stupid the Baseball Writers of America are and how petty they are and how it's ridiculous that because some guy wasn't like bowing down to the media that they're going to hold it against him for Hall of Fame votes. It's baseball. The writers make things very frustrating for us, for us as fans. Like, again, Bonds, Clemens absolutely should be there. Schilling probably should be there.
He's, on the edge, but
yeah.
You got to separate. I mean, and I get that the guy is also like kind of a dickhead. Like,
sure, there's lots of kids in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's tons of not great people or just like annoying people
racists,
that are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's racists, there's drunks, there's abusers in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's all there, man. It's the history is not a beautiful thing, but I mean, there's bad people in there.
And I think, Tyler sent me this earlier today, which also, by the way, as a side note, I already liked Adam Jones, but I love the term slapdick.
So good.
He's cut from the right cloth, this guy. You just know right off the bat. But I kind of agree. Like, if you don't even put in a vote, I feel like that should be the cutoff. Like, all right, well then you just don't get to vote ever again. Like, you can send in a blank ballot if you want. Like, if you don't think anyone's getting in that year, that's fine. Like, that's the way it works. Okay. But if your protest is just like, I'm not even going to bother to send in a blank ballot, you are like the even worst of the worst baseball writer. And they're all, I mean, they're not all, but I mean, a lot of them are really annoying and just crusty old dudes.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what happens next year because next year it will, all three guys we mentioned, Schilling, Bonds, Clemens. Next year is their final year, their 10th year on the ballot. And then we're also going to have – I kind of looked at the list of the people coming up, that will be their first time on the ballot next year. Again, there's a lot of, decent players on there, but really the two that are kind of like are going to make it are David Ortiz and A-Rod. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I can live with that. I mean, AC, he's pretty cool, but he's got a little bit of a, I'm just talking about the ones I've been around.
Sure.
He's got a little attitude to him. But, these baseball writers, they really think they're pretty great, and it's very annoying.
But, yeah, like, I'm curious to see what happens with, like, Ortiz and A-Rod next year because, those are two guys that, they both tested positive for steroids. They both admitted to it, but they also both, Ortiz was always pretty friendly with the media. A-Rod's kind of turned his image around the last few years. So he's a terrible commentator, but he's kind of turned his image around with the media. So I'm interested to see what they do with those two, considering they're more media friendly as opposed to the three that are kind of on the chopping block right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw a very hypocritical move by the writers and like, oh yeah, these Ortiz and A-Rod are going to get in, sure, and then these three don't. But then again,
I don't foresee that at all. I think they're going to sweat these guys out for like 7 at least years. And just like, we didn't like that guy. like anything associated with steroids, I feel like that costs you at least 5. Like, all right, as soon as it's on, like, oh, but steroids, all right, we're not going to vote for him for a while. And then, I'll think about it. Nah. Yeah, maybe at the end.
That's also the dumbest thing that I hate about this is there's those guys that it's like they don't get on till their 10th, and it's like the stats haven't changed in 10 years. Like, I don't understand other than just your shitty pettiness. What is that?
I don't know. My watch is doing some kind of move here.
I just heard some voice. What the hell? But yeah, like that's one thing I've never understood about the whole Baseball Hall of Fame is like how like nothing changed in 9 years. Like, why are you voting for them now? Like, it's so stupid. Again, you and I, we've had many sober and drunken conversations shitting on baseball writers. It's
the ultimate just like gatekeeper thing. Like, well, we have all the power in this case, and we're just gonna kind of like dangle it out there for you. Like, nah. Like, and this is just like I said, Schilling is borderline. I mean, yeah, over 200 wins. I mean, yes, postseason career, whatever. But Bonds and Clemens,
they got to be in.
It doesn't matter if they're bad guys. It's just like the best players during that time when they played, they were both obviously that. So, like, what are you just like they didn't exist for 20 years?
Yeah, it's dumb. And again, I know you said he's never getting in, and I agree he'll probably never get in. But if I had a vote, I think Sosa's got to be in. Like the home run chase that saved baseball. Like, plus he had 3 out of 4 seasons where he had 60+ home runs. He's over 600 for his career. Like, that's got to be on there. But he'll never get in because he left Chicago in really bad terms and pissed a lot of the media off on the way out. So, I mean, it's just I don't know. And then kind of looking down the list that they had this year, I'm like, I don't know who else is going to get in. Like, I know Roland was 4th. Like, I think he's in the Hall of Very Good.
Agreed.
Name. Vizquel, you and I both like. We were talking about it earlier. Like, we both like him. You got the best fielder ever, amazing longevity, but that's probably not going to get him in the Hall. I think he should be, but if he's not, I'm not going to die on the hill either. But I really don't know. Like, it's possible we could see a couple of years of nobody getting in if the writers are really going to be this petty.
I thought, and Tyler and I were talking about this like throughout the day. I would put Vizquel in the same class of like I'm not going to be, dying on that hill if he doesn't get in.
Right.
But I will say the difference between him and Roland, because I think Vizquel was like 5 or 6 as far as the voting
goes.
He was
6th. Yeah, he was 6th.
I do think that guy actually changed the way that position is played on the field. So there's something to be said for that. I mean, as far as defensive shortstops, he's probably the best I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Just in my life, I would have to say better than Ozzie Smith. Better, like this guy was a freak. Like, yeah, the hitting was in and out as far as season to season, but I'm not really like totally broken up that he hasn't gotten in. I think he should get in at some point.
Sure.
Scott Rowland, same thing. Like, I feel like he probably could and should get in there, but just the fact that he was up at that 4th spot just kind of like points to, it's like a popularity contest. All right. Like, okay, I see what it is.
Yeah. And Justin, to answer your question, I think he goes in as a Baltimore Oriole. That one epic summer he played for the Orioles.
One magical summer.
Yes.
Real quick too, before I see you on the line as well, Justin. Thank you. We'll get you on here soon, but just want to talk about my boys, the Hammers.
Yeah, buddy.
4th place.
Come on, you
standings. We are going to Europe. That's a bona fide fact. We're going on a European tour.
That's right.
No one can take that from us.
Woo!
20 games in, baby. 4th place in the table. Gotta love it.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. I mean, look, anybody that's been watching all year knows, like, before the season, I outright said, like, if West Ham doesn't win their first game against Newcastle, which they didn't, they will go into November with no points. And boy, was I fucking wrong, man. Pay David Moyes. Pay the Moyesiah.
The Moyesiah deserves everything that's coming to him. Just
that he
give
just
him
has
the money.
he has this team rolling. Like everybody looks like they're trying, which we haven't seen from West Ham in a couple of years. The team has an identity, and apparently the board is actually starting to back him because they're supposedly in the next day or two going to be signing Benrahma to a permanent deal.
No, it went today.
He actually did sign today. Okay, I missed that. And now they're going to be supposedly taking on Jesse Lingard as a free transfer. Which, look, I know he hasn't been great for Man U recently, but he seems to want to play for Moyes. And plus, it's a free transfer. Guess what? If it doesn't work out, get rid of him in the offseason. Oh, well, no big deal. And then the board is also supposedly going to be giving Moyes money to go after the Korean striker, which Lord knows this team could use a striker. Love you, Antonio, but you're not a striker.
Yeah.
I mean, look, truth be told, West Ham literally within 16 hours will no longer be in fourth place because either Liverpool or Tottenham is going to pass them based off of what happens tomorrow. But the fact this team is even here is like insane to me.
They were probably coming down to like the last month, like maybe going to get relegated last season. So from there to here, I'm going to take it. And especially when the team is going well, like you said about Lingard, at this point, I'm kind of like, you got a strong back, we can use you.
Exactly.
Like, get on board, get down or lay down. We're going one way. You can get on board if you want.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, look, you look at it in the top 9 there. I also love that you did 9 to show Arsenal down there, as well as Chelsea. Actually,
the Arsenal trolling will never stop. It will never stop.
But look at that there's 4 London teams there in the top 9, and who's at the top of the London standings? Hammers, baby.
And just to check in on Arsenal fan real quick.
Oh, mate.
So, I hope it works out for that guy. But West Ham, here we are. Come on, you Irons. Kick the hell out of everyone. Yes, it's unfortunate that you have to play Liverpool in the next game. But at this point, I mean, like Tyler said, everything's clicking. Like, if you're going to – you got to play Liverpool anyway. So I'd rather play them right now when the team's looking good.
Yeah, for sure. Like in years past, it's been like, okay, we just count Liverpool as an automatic loss. Like there's no way. Now it's like, you know what? This team could win. They could draw. Like I don't feel like it's an automatic loss. Like if this team can get 1 point out of it, I'm happy. 3 points, I'm ecstatic. Like it's very possible. And I also did want to give a shout out to I saw them at number 2 in the standings there. Man United losing to 20th place Sheffield United.
Sheffield. Get it, Sheffield.
Sheffield's second win of the season, and I did see a stat that they've scored 33% of their goals this year against Manchester United. So nice job, Manchester. Got things going real well there. That's West Ham's next FA Cup opponent. I think in 2 weeks.
Kryptonite for Man United for some reason. Man. Sheffield. That's always find a way to score against Man United, and I'm never here to disappoint. So I see the comments. I see you out there, Justin. And I'm going to show some love to my dog, Bruce Smith. But on that note, let's bring in on the – well, you know what? Let me decide. I'm going to say the Jupiter Records and Tape Celebrity Hotline this evening. Let's welcome into the program Mr. No ID Justin. How are you doing this evening, my good friend?
What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
I have issue with you saying that Ozzie Smith isn't the greatest defensive shortstop of all time, though. I have a severe problem with that.
Vizquel, dog. I mean, that's a straight fact.
I want you to go on YouTube and search Ozzie Smith one-handed, barehanded play. And just roll that in slow motion like 30 times and tell me that any other human being on the face of the earth could make that play.
Khalil Green's probably got a sick YouTube mixtape too. I'm just saying, like anyone can get it on YouTube. But Vizquel, day to day, the nicest I've ever seen.
Ozzie got it on YouTube while wearing a Padres uniform, and not the current Padres uniform. I'm talking throwback late 70s, early 80s Padres uniform.
Which are nice. Nice.
Those are very nice.
He does have his hat resting securely on top of his blown-out afro. It's one of the greatest highlights, if not the greatest highlight in baseball history, in my opinion. So I'm biased for that one. Ozzy gets the nod for me.
Also,
Omar's
I don't want
great.
to
Omar's
gloss
great.
over the probably the only bright spot, or one of, during that time, kind of that in between period for the Dodgers. The Cora is tourist connection.
I love that. I love
Solid.
that. That is my favorite middle infield the Dodgers have ever had, just from
That
a
was-
defensive perspective.
Whoa.
Magic.
From a defensive perspective.
Okay. Yeah.
Just seeing the wizardry.
You're not a
And
big.
again, that's not a shot at Ozzy.
You're not a big Mark Grudzielanek, Rafael Furcal late in his career middle infield guy. You're not a big.
You know, I love Rafael Furcal.
Yeah, I loved Rafa when he was with the Dodgers. That was great.
I mean, Kenny Lofton's my favorite player of all time, so I was doing backflips when we got him towards the tail end of his career, and he was still making plays in center field, like 40 years old, man. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. The guy was a shit. No, it's
I'm just not going to take any. Even though at the end, there was a lot of years on the Giants. I hate the Giants. We all hate the Giants. Vizquel, he's nice, dude. I mean, I've never seen anyone like that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird too because you always see these these shortstops that come up. For some reason, the Padres organization just churns out shortstops. By the way, if you look back at where some of the greatest shortstops started, a lot of them came from the Padres organization. So, but yeah, you'll always see these guys that they're kind of like defensive guys and not offensive guys. So Vizquel was a good, he was kind of ahead of his time in terms of being that kind of offensive and defensive threat. And now that's all over
He did it
baseball.
for so long too.
Yeah, you see guys like Javi Baez in Chicago, like those mold of shortstops, those guys are pretty commonplace now, and they weren't back then. So it wasn't considered a position that really was offensive to that degree. So
I'm just, that's more what I'm going on the line of. It's like a lot of the flick with the glove, behind the back stuff. Vizquel was the first guy I saw doing that.
Yeah.
So, and he was kind of the pioneer on that. So,
I mean,
if he gets in the Hall of Fame or not, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to be broken up about it. But compared to Scott Rowland,
yeah,
if you're looking at someone that probably changed the way that position is actually played, and with the talent that you now see, people copying the same kind of moves, I would go with Vizquel. In a global baseball sense.
He had a good running mate in the middle infield too, albeit a piece of shit human being from what I gathered. But his second baseman was good. So, is he the one that spit, or was that his brother?
Their offensive numbers are comparable, and the Wizard is in. The Baron chiming in. I agree with the Baron.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He wasn't inept offensively, and I just think
he's good.
The style that he played with defensively, even kind of where it looked how's it so easy for this guy?
Yeah,
that did change things. But
Ronnie, I just remembered something I wanted to tell you earlier, and I think Justin will like this, being a Dodger fan as well. When I was looking at the kind of who all was on the Hall of Fame voting list this year, they also give you the list of eligible players that didn't make the didn't even make the voting list. Joe Beimel was on the list.
Yes. Nice.
Which I'm upset he didn't even make the cut to get on the list. That's bullcrap. Nice. Troy in West Virginia is fuming right now.
Yeah, Brad Penny couldn't make it on there.
Not on there. Not on there.
Hey,
no love for my guy Yancy Brazabon. That's bullcrap.
When are we starting the campaign for old Chad Billingsley though?
C-Bills, man. Younger V swore that Billingsley was going to be a Cy Young winner.
He was the next.
Did I miss on that?
Oh,
he was the next Kershaw before Kershaw even entered his prime.
Right?
Yeah, he was. He was the first Kershaw before there was a Kershaw.
Yeah.
And then he was just hanging on for dear life as Kershaw became Kershaw.
Yeah. Big Billingsley wearing the pants that were super tight around the thighs.
You know who should get in? Mike Hampton, first power hitting pitcher.
There we go.
I love pitchers that rake, dude.
I love that. Yeah. So, Justin, what do you think is going to happen with the Hall of Fame in the next couple of years? Do you think they're going to let all the controversial guys in next year? Or do you think we might get a couple years of nobody getting voted in?
I heard you guys talking about it earlier. I actually caught Jeff Passan was doing an interview today. He was talking about how he actually gave up his Hall of Fame vote. He's so in disagreement with the process and what they're doing, and he doesn't like
Good.
it. And I'm of that ilk too, man. Like it's weird. I get it that the Hall of Fame's supposed to be prestigious and this and that, but there's all sorts of caveats you could put on every era of baseball because baseball has been, essentially the longest, documented
Forever.
running sport.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, I even hear people mention all the time, like, if you want to go back, okay, well, Babe Ruth didn't play against brothers, like,
Sure.
no
Yeah.
Latin American competition, it's like the league is dominated right now by Latin American players. So, I think there's a lot of qualms to be made. I know people are upset with the steroids and stuff like that. It's just been one of those things I feel like, especially for our generation, as we've gotten into our adult years, it's kind of been one of those things where I think us as teenagers, I remember having conversations with friends like, once all these old ass writers get out of here, it'll be different, like the new age, the younger writers. But I feel like, because it's a 75% thing, essentially, again, another comment I'll rip from somebody that I heard today, I believe it was Jeff Passan, essentially because it's 75%, if you take 4 baseball writers and put them in a room, all it takes is really one guy to not want that guy. You know what I mean? It takes one out of those 4 to be bitter and upset about the steroid use, and that's going to keep them off. So it's a really tough scenario. I think at some point, hopefully before our days are numbered on this earth, I think there should be a second branch that opens up just independently. Maybe they open up like a baseball memorial or something of that ilk where they can just a baseball museum, call it that if you want, but let's get it right because there's too many dudes. And then I'm like you guys, like the Beimel, that's fucking hilarious. You hear some of the names that come up on these lists, and it's like, are you shitting me?
Victorino, he might have a shot in the next couple years. Like, no, dude, come on.
I hear these names.
Actually, Victorino is not. He missed the cut this year.
He missed the cut.
Well,
he didn't get that enough percentage to be on next year's ballot.
You hear these random names, and I'm like, dude, I had 72 baseball cards of that guy. Like that guy didn't do shit. I remember there was one of his card in every pack. That's how shitty he was.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like just the criteria is just all over the place. It's almost like the yearly MVP conversation we have in every league. Like what defines an MVP? Is it most valuable to your team? Is it most like it's the same hullabaloo that we deal with every year with that voting. So it's shitty, dude. I think it's kind of comical actually. The like nobody gets in this year. Like really, dude. That's literally the epitome of take my ball and go home. So.
Well, and my thing, like the entire time, even before, like I had a chance to like work around it, was like just what you said. Like baseball, it's been around forever. Like there's been the dead ball era, then they lowered the mound, and like all these different things. Like, all right, well then people are hitting a ton, or no one could hit. Like it's still Hall of Famers all these different times. So the steroid thing, yes, obviously, first of all, the predominant major league did not test for it for a long time, so they can't really hide from it. But especially after like working around it and seeing how people operate like on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, you guys are here every day, all day, and you talk to the players, you talk to all the players, you're at the park, you're at their locker probably for at least like an hour or 2 a day. Like if you really you knew what was happening, and you were just like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, look at all these guys hitting 50 home runs. Like, yeah, baseball's back. Like, I'm like, dude, that's very disingenuous. Like, we all know you were there and you saw it and you were, in a way, complicit with it. Like, writers, everyone wants to break a story. But in this case, I feel like these sports writers, baseball writers, didn't want to lose access to being around the team by putting out the story. Like,
well, and it's, to talk about, again, about, variables and different times throughout the long timeline of baseball. I mean, you could break it down to the simple fact, like, baseball's the only sport where there's not a uniform field. You know what I mean? Like, you go to any given stadium and it's different dimensions, different field lengths. Some are more conducive to hitters, some are better suited for pitchers. I don't hear people bitching about that. Like, such and such pitcher, he pitched at this, fucking shitty pitcher park that's super hitter friendly. Like,
well, you'll hear that about
Rockies.
You hear about Rockies players,
Mike Hampton can't get in because he played at Colorado. Like it's It's just there's so many variables in baseball because it's ran on so long and there's so many different intricacies to it compared to the other major sports. I think that makes it the most it should be the most diversified Hall of Fame if you really think about it. I mean, break it into segments. I feel like these guys are just so lazy, even when it comes to the football Hall of Fames. Like they don't want to just, break it down a little bit, break it into segments. You've had a long history of players and achievements and accomplishments. You can separate, it doesn't have to be one big auditorium.
I think it's especially just in the case of baseball too. It's like you guys are writers, like you understand nuance, right? Like times change, situations change. Like if you're the ones voting, shouldn't you be the ones that like realize that like more than anyone? Like if you're just a player that has beef with someone and you're not going to vote for them, like, all right, well that's just like player to player. But like writers are supposed to have this like 1,000-foot view, and that's the only people that vote on baseball. And yet they're just like, wow, now it's going to look bad if I vote for the steroid guy. So I hated that guy. Like now,
how completely different are the baseball writers? You know what I mean? You take a baseball writer from 30 years ago that did newspaper and was a beat journalist and followed a team compared to these guys. You only have to do it. You only have to be, I believe it's 10 years, and then you can get into the baseball, to the voting. You get a vote after 10 years. You got to assume there's some of these guys that are fresh, have their votes for 2-3 years. These guys got him being bloggers and internet writers and shit like that. So even that separation, you got the old guard and then you got the new guard. And yeah, it is. It's almost similar to how when Manfred took over for baseball, it's almost like people knew. Like, you think that guy got that job without promising he was never going to let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame? No way. You know what I mean?
I think that's on the contract.
It's a prerequisite.
Right. So we're agreed, right? No Pete Rose.
And that's the thing. It's the good old boys and the old guard. They're never going to fully relinquish that hold. And I think, it's going to be, probably ever. And I like that some of these players are coming on. Now, Curt Schilling, you're a douchebag. You're a borderline Hall of Famer at best anyways.
I don't care anyway. Like, as far as like his personal politics, he is definitely a dickhead.
He ran a shitty video game company. I don't like the guy.
But his, I have my thoughts about that. No one should do that. But the fact that he did the whole thing where he's like, I sent this private letter, and then he just posted it. I'm like, well, it's not private now, dude. You just look like an ass.
He's forever been an attention grabber for sure. I feel like Curt Schilling, like 20 years from now, is going to be like the OJ, where like he just does these random creepy videos and posts all the time, and everybody's just like, dude, look what Curt Schilling's doing now, man. Like, fuck.
On the golf course? Hey, it's your old pal, Curt Schilling.
He's going to write a book called If I Did It, This Is How.
Yeah. If that was ketchup on my sock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, look, I mean, but by my own definition of like what should be in Hall of Fame, like I feel like Schilling probably should be there. Like his numbers are good, but I mean, again, the bloody sock. That's like you can't tell the story of baseball without talking about the bloody sock game. Or I'd even say that 1-2 combo of him and Randy Johnson in Arizona. Like that's a huge thing. Like that was huge. Them beating the Yankees in 2001, especially after 9/11, when. I won't say everybody was rooting for the Yankees, but it was a feel-good story if they would have won.
Guys were so juiced.
But I mean, like I think Schilling should be there just because I think he is a big piece of the baseball history. But it's just
the history part, yeah. Like
the writers just make it so for us infuriating for baseball fans because they have that huge chip on their shoulder because like, oh, this guy's a dickhead. I'm not going to vote for him. Like, well, come on, he's a fucking great baseball player. Like.
And also have the wherewithal to realize that a lot of you fools that I've like talked to in person are also dickheads. Like, step back from oh, this guy just rubbed me the wrong like one time and like never again. Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
Exactly.
Like just the fact that you have a Hall of Fame vote, okay, we get it. But like, let's be realistic here. Like, obviously, some people need to get in, and you're just like boxing them out because of this grudge.
Yeah, I don't know. The baseball writers, like I said, we can go on and on about them, but I'd rather not. One last piece of news I did want to touch on because we've only got about 5 or so minutes left here. Just before we jumped on the air, it was announced that the Houston Texans have found their new head coach. They hired the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver coach, David Coley, which, look, if there's any one team and group position that I think you think of as ultimate coaching, it's Baltimore wide receivers.
Yes.
So,
hey, he had those guys coached up. I mean, obviously.
yeah, right.
Like, that
You
was
see,
a solid unit.
Nobody, nobody ran routes underneath 30-yard overthrown balls like the Baltimore Ravens last year.
That's right,
Like,
man.
when
That's
those
right.
passes were sailing 15 yards over their head, they were running crisp routes, man. Let me tell you.
That's right. Just nice sharp cuts. Nice sharp cuts right under that ball flying over.
I thought you were gonna probe the Lions insider for Stafford news because I don't have a whole lot for you right now. From what I gather, we're looking at a potential. It's really scary, but football team could be somebody who lands the services of
Ooh.
Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to having to play that guy twice a year. And then one of the other ones I heard that has a strong possibility is we could potentially see a scenario, a love triangle, where Stafford winds up in San Francisco and your boy Jimmy G winds up back in the welcoming arms of Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots.
I mean, that is his boy.
Yeah, it is the boy.
So that's the latest on the Stafford front right now. He's not going to be a Cowboy from what I gather, although we are listed on the probable teams that could land his services. But as of right now, no. But if you told me, hey, Dak for $40 million for 1 year, Stafford $46 million for 2 years, you know where I'm going. Give me Matty Staff.
Matty Staff.
I still think, man, Indy is just Indy is such a good fit for him.
It seems too perfect, but then you heard the news today where Chris Ballard actually came out and threw Frank Reich under the bus. Chris Ballard said they wanted Brady, but that Frank Reich was more familiar with Phillip Rivers. Well, guess who else Frank Reich happens to be familiar with? A dude with a huge albatross contract in Philadelphia named Carson Wentz, although it seems ownership would like to ride it out with him. So this offseason, I mean, I know we're getting to the end of the season. This offseason is going to be bonkers for quarterbacks. I know I mentioned on an episode early this season. It's going to be crazy, dude. There's going to be so many names, and with 4 to 5 incoming first-round picks, it's going to be shenanigans, man. You might see 2/3 of the league with a different starter next year. So,
except Aaron Rodgers, which also thank you for breaking that down last week because it's just like, dude, it's not realistic. Like,
He's not gonna, yeah.
No team could take that on right now. Like,
no.
You got at least one more year. Like, even though he kind of sort of walked it back a little bit, like, well, I just can't say, like, who knows? I think in like the last day or two, it's like, no, we know, dude. I mean, we know how much you make, so.
Thank you, Sporttrack.com, which lists all players' contracts and the yearly breakdowns and the cap number. It takes no more than a Google search to realize, yeah, they'd be really effing dumb to get rid of them right now when they could totally do it for cheap next season.
Let's get rid of Rodgers and eat all this money. Like, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's a big part of the reason why I think this Stafford thing is playing out the way it did. I mean, obviously with Dan Campbell coming in and a new regime and things of that nature, but it just so happened to fall on a year where they have a potential out in his contract, So it's all about, the dollar, especially in a season where for the first time in pretty much our lives, the cap is going down, that's a scary thought for a lot of teams, Saints included.
And I think that's a big part of why, just kind of like what you're seeing in baseball. I mean, the offseason is going to be super weird. I mean, you're going to see a lot of movement, yeah, but values you might have like assumed in a normal year would be there are not going to be there, or just it's going to be hard to pin down like where people are going and also how much they're going to get paid. Like, I think in general, value of players is going to go down like baseball, but going into this offseason, you can't really like bet on anything.
No, it's gonna be weird, man. I mean, Chargers quarterback staying the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not. This conversation bores me. I'm not listening to this. My team's got its quarterback that we're gonna ride to.
Tyler safely in the clubhouse.
Speaking of the connection of me and this guy's two teams, shout out GOAT tight end Jason Witten hanging up the cleats officially for the second time today.
Just stay out of the commentators booth,
yeah,
please.
That's
all I ask.
Signing a one-day contract to retire a Dallas Cowboy. Let's just harken back and let's remember the greatest moment of Jason Witten's career. That Sunday night game, I believe, catches a pass over the middle, helmet comes off, and the man tries to lower his head and truck defenders 30 yards downfield with no helmet.
I feel like he would have stayed maybe playing like one more year, but he saw that Nickelodeon booth opening
He
up,
did.
so
Yeah,
he might,
he did.
be trying to jump on that. So maybe he has
Yeah.
inside
Dude,
track on that.
That guy is putting children to sleep. There's no way he gets that gig.
Hey, I like him better than Booger. All right.
I love Witt, dude. He doesn't have the personality for that type of job.
No.
But again, guy should be. I know I'm on the first ballot. Jeez, man, come on. I know I'm on the first ballot. The first ballot Hall of Fame campaign for Phillip Rivers, but Witten has to go in first ballot. I know he doesn't have the touchdown or reception numbers that guys like Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gates or some of the other guys of his era do, but when you just break down like sheer start to finish, on and off the field, team leader, just, block, catch, clutch catches on third down, the guy was a rare breed, so I don't think there should be any question that he gets in.
I don't know if I feel that same way, but you know what? Since you're on the Rivers first ballot Hall of Fame, I'm gonna reciprocate that favor.
Thanks,
I'll jump on the first ballot.
Honestly, let's get them in together in 5 years. What are we?
I'm with it.
Right
I'm
now?
with it. Let's do it.
I'm glad that we have reached this agreement, and also the Football Hall of Fame is not nearly as jacked as the baseball one.
Hey, Tom Flores, baby, get Tom Flores in. What the fuck?
There we go. There we go.
Big Tom Flores. Come on. But thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Again, tentatively for now, the plan is to get back with you on Friday. If not, Justin, you may have to, guest host for me. I don't know what the situation's going to be, but we are planning on doing that. I'm going to do it from, Utah, if that is possible. But thank you guys, as always, for joining us, commenting, calling. We love you guys, and we will get back with you one way or another on Friday. Tyler, anything else you got before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Just thanks for all the comments, Justin. Thank you, as always, for calling in. The third man on the show. He is definitely the third man on the show. No question. But yeah, check in. We'll still put something together for Friday. We'll be here in some factor. So thank you guys so much for watching. We love you. Stick around on the network. I know we do got Patrice coming up here. Book Club for TV.
Nick's right. Royal Rumble breakdown on Friday.
Well, yeah, we'll go over the Royal Rumble on Friday. We'll go over the Pro Bowl on Friday. Just all the stuff you're looking forward to. So thank you guys so much. You guys know the drill. Keep the fire.
Keep the fire.
At the buzzer.